It's Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. Tune in on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, you new to the area or just want to know about the best hidden gems and upcoming events? Stay tuned. Be Local Buzz with Devin takes you to these places, introduces you to the best businesses, and tells you about upcoming buzz. Preset your radio to Tan Talk 1340 AM or 106.1 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. That is the Be Local Buzz with Devin on Tan Talk 1340 AM and 106 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. Looking forward to speaking with you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
Caregivers around the world today. It's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. It's time to give.
Good afternoon and welcome to Connecting Caregivers. So you might notice that you hear a new voice today. I'm not Linda Burhan. That's because Linda is taking her own advice and she is taking some time off to care for herself as a caregiver. She's out of the country in Portugal. So today you get to hang out with Elli Baldwin and myself, Lisa Keith. We're here representing Sunways Senior Living Concierge. And we're filling in for the day, holding down the studio.
I'm still waiting for you to start the jingle.
I
don't know. Where's the jingle?
I don't know the song. And thankfully, we have the producer, Ed, here today, and he's going to keep us on track.
Holding down the fort,
how's it going, Ed?
I'm sure it'll be nice and easy for you.
Fingers crossed.
Keep the train on the rails, Ed. Please, please.
So we're super excited because in the studio today, we have our special guest, Lisa Kent. She is the Senior Director of Transitional Services with Palm Garden Healthcare. So hi, Lisa.
Hey, good
welcome.
afternoon.
I'm surrounded by all the Lisa energy today.
Good energy.
Elisa Oreo.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
That's why we put you in the middle. And I have to tell you that Linda was super excited hearing that you were going to be on the show. She said that she has been trying for years to get you on here. So
I sent other people.
Right, there you go. It's fitting into the schedule, right? We were just talking
Perfect.
about that before the show, that it's just trying to find time.
Find time. And I'm glad Linda found time because she's amazing resource to so many people, including our communities, ourselves, anyone that needs her help. So I'm just excited for her that she gets to go somewhere and get a little time for herself.
Yes.
Although I'm sure Charlie is missing her.
Oh, I'm sure she's missing Charlie just as much.
Yes, all the pictures. We can't wait to hear the stories.
Yes. So we'll start off by introducing you, Lisa, and just getting to know a little bit about what you do and about Palm Garden Healthcare.
Yeah, tell us about Palm Gardens.
Thanks. So I've actually been blessed to be with the company for about 7.5 years now. Awesome. And in the role that I have now, I'm more of the support person to all the incredible folks that really help people transition from a hospital setting, sometimes home, into the post-acute rehab world that we celebrate everyone in. We like to call ourselves a life center, not so much a rehabilitation center or a facility, because we do celebrate the life of every single person coming to us that needs a little bit of extra care and attention.
Yeah, that's amazing and such a needed resource. So we're excited today to be talking about some of the nuances about that and even what that means for people in our community and how to utilize those resources. But 7 years, that's a long time in the healthcare world, isn't it?
Thanks. Yes, that's just with Palm Garden.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And just with Palm Gardens. Has your role changed over time? As you've been there?
Yeah, my role has changed a little bit. I'm in more of a leadership role now. So again, I support those folks that every single day just put their heart and soul into helping others. I kind of help my team help others. And I'm still involved in the community and with the hospitals and with a lot of our, local ALFs.
Right.
And, anyone that really, truly needs help trying to figure out how to navigate this, because it's not easy to navigate getting yourself or getting your loved one, especially if you're a caregiver, into one of these settings. I mean, most of the time we don't know about it. We don't even know that we need it until we've had some type of emergency or trauma or, our loved one has become very ill and now they need help. And, it's not something you study, right?
No, you're thrown
just
into the fire, right?
You're thrown into the fire and figure it out.
Exactly. Well, and that's a good point with that. So, because obviously we have listeners from all over the world, really, not just the US, but are there facilities? There's something like 19, I think you said, that just you oversee, right?
Well, Palm Garden has 14.
14, okay.
In the state of Florida.
Wow.
We're privately owned, and our owner is an amazing woman. And really, our mission is just to create a compassionate environment for each person entrusted to our care, and really to inspire hope and healing by helping every single person kind of achieve like their highest level of physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So we want to bring them in, take great care of them, and then be able to get them home and celebrate home. Because,
right.
A lot of times we have babies, we have grandchildren, we have so many milestones. We graduate high school or college, or we get that degree we've been working on. And, what do you get to celebrate when you're 80 years old and you have broken your hip and you're by yourself? Maybe, you can't go home. Or so we try very hard to make sure that we can encompass all of that. We can provide love and care and additional, just support. And not only for the person that we need to help, but for their family members as well.
Right. And I love that, because a lot of times it's all about perspective. And when you look at it in a positive way and you celebrate those milestones, it really changes the way you can heal and you can move on. And
yeah, that's a great point on the healing too, right? What percentage would you say is mindset on any of those things that you're healing, and just having the will to be working towards those things?
And sometimes you've lost your will a little bit, right? So if our therapy team or our nurses or even life enrichment, we have chaplains in our locations. So we have, dietitians, anything that can inspire that hope, provide somebody with just the will to want to be able to do better and get themselves to graduate or celebrate to the next level that they need to be at.
Exactly.
And I love that you were talking about all the other elements, because for someone to heal the best they can, they do need, it's nutrition, it's spirituality, it's all of these things, combined together. So that you look at all of that is really important.
Yeah. And so the bridge, right, that you're creating, so that the goal is that somebody would come to Palm Gardens and essentially be bridging to the next step, right? Whether it's coming home, going to another different level of care, and really get that rehabilitation on all of those levels. Is there a typical, day or time frame that somebody is typically at Palm Gardens, or is there a deadline that they would have to be in or out?
No, I always say we work very similar to a hotel. We have people check in and check out every day. A lot of it is insurance driven. It truly is.
Okay.
So depending, you talk about managed care. You see Medicare in our community, which makes it very easy to navigate and help someone. And it's much easier to kind of go through the hoops or steps, as you say, with Medicare than it is with managed care,
right? Which
normally provides some type of length of stay, right? And there's also all kinds of things physicians participate in. They're in bundled programs or ACOs. So those have their own little rules and regulations on length of stay for our guests. We do have guests and residents. We don't have patients. So our guests have to follow along depending on which insurance or bundle or whatever they participate in. But I would say average length of stay for someone, they come to us and they're there about, I'd say anywhere from 14 to 21 days.
Okay. So then the insurance is somewhat dictating that based on the need, et cetera. So working together with the family, the clinicians, and then the insurance company deciding really what's appropriate.
Correct.
To hit those goals, so to speak. That's awesome. Does somebody have to come from the hospital? Can they come from home? Like what, just thinking about our listeners, if, something like this rehabilitation sounds like a great idea for their loved one, what's the easiest way for them to tap into that resource?
Yeah. Well, the hospital is definitely the easiest way. They've had some type of need for emergent care, right? and then their physician team and maybe the therapy team at the hospital says, hey, we really think that you would benefit from having this extra special treatment before you go home, right? So then they provide all the paperwork that we need because we are a very regulated industry. So they provide all the paperwork that we need to be able to admit them. And things, very simple things like a discharge medication list. There's a form called, a continuum of care or a 3008. These are all things that the hospital can easily provide. When someone's coming from home, sometimes they haven't had a hospital stay, but maybe their physician, their primary care physician, understands they need help. They can fill out some of those documents, but someone can't just show up at the door and say, hey, I would like to be able to come here for some help. Now, outpatient therapy, they could do that.
Okay.
They would still need some forms and insurance and things along those lines, but to actually have an inpatient stay, there are many different ways to get there, but there are lots of different forms, paperwork, documents that we need to do that.
Okay.
It sounds really scary. It sounds like there's a lot, but we're the professionals. We know what they are. So we communicate with people in the field, like we communicate with home health agencies. We have our own home health.
Right.
We communicate with the physicians, care coordinators in the hospital, social workers. So we can gather all that information from numerous sources.
Okay. And so if somebody is at home and wants to come directly, there's probably like a liaison. I don't know if that's really what the name of that type of person would be that would help them say, okay, here's our checklist. We need this from the doctor and kind of help coordinate getting all of that information.
Yes, you are correct. And normally, each of our locations does have quote unquote a liaison. We also like to call them marketers or sales professionals because they are professionals in their field.
Right.
They know exactly what that person needs and they know how to help them. So normally it's just a quick phone call to one of our care centers, and then they're asking and inquiring. We usually invite them in for a tour.
Right.
Welcome them in when they come in for a tour, show them all around, answer all their questions there, and then give them very specific items of what we would need to be able to help their loved one from home.
Right.
The other thing is, sometimes we deal with our most precious, population, and they can be forgetful, or maybe they don't have anyone to help navigate them. And that's kind of where those liaisons that you mentioned can step in and help too. They know what they need, so they can reach out to the physician's office. We can't do it without them calling their physician first and saying, hey, I'm going to have Lisa from Palm Garden call you, and I'm trying to get there to get some help. And then we can reach out to the physician's office and let them know the things they need.
Right. No, that's awesome. And it seems like, I know that Lisa and I, for what we do, really helping a lot of times when families will come to us, it's a caregiver that is hitting a wall from a burnout perspective, 24/7, caring for their loved one, whether it's physical needs, cognitive support, maybe a little bit of both. And so as you're talking about this, my brain always goes to, from a solution standpoint, there obviously has to be a need for the rehabilitation to get approved. And we can maybe talk about that here shortly about what would qualify a stay.
Sure.
But could folks that are listening to the show today that are caregivers see it almost as a win-win solution from a respite perspective of 14 to 21 days of their loved one staying there? They're getting a tune-up and some care, some helping mobility, working on all of these things, but they're staying there, right? So that really gives them time to catch their breath. Could they use it in that way?
There's definitely, we do, as long as there is bed availability, we do respite stays. I think pretty much most everybody in our industry does respite stays. Normally that's a private pay situation.
Okay.
But that's not a problem at all. We're happy to help as long as, we can meet that person's care needs, right? I always think compassion, right? Being compassionate, especially for the caregivers. They've gone through a lot. They're watching someone that they love go through changes, maybe not necessarily, good changes. And that's very taxing. That's very tiring. It's very stressful. So respite is a great thing for the caregiver to be able to have. And, again, I would invite them to go tour. I would say any skilled nursing facility, or as we would say, rehabilitation center, life center, go in and take a tour. Go in unannounced. Yeah. Don't call and set up an appointment. I mean, everybody's used to having people come in and take tours, and there's always someone around that could show you around, answer your questions, provide guidance and some compassion and some help.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how much of a tool, I know that Lisa and I get calls all of the time from family members just looking to see what their respite options are. And I think that a lot of times people think either in-home care and with private duty, which is a great solution because it really involves the least amount of moving parts, right?
Definitely.
Filling out paperwork or a move or anything along those lines. But it also
and their loved one most of the time is more comfortable in their own home.
Exactly.
And if they've got some memory obstacles going on, in home is definitely, like you said, less moving parts. It's just unfortunately also the most expensive, usually, if it does involve a 24/7 or significant amount of daily care, but then also obviously staying in assisted living or memory care being a respite option too. But I don't think people think rehab.
And
nearly
especially
enough.
if you need to get that, if you would benefit from getting some extra therapy and getting stronger.
Right, exactly. It's like it's a win-win. So I know you'd mentioned with respite, the private pay situation. So is the main difference of whether or not somebody would need to private pay from a respite perspective, or whether or not Medicare and insurance would cover the cost, does that really come down to qualifying from a need perspective? Is that the difference?
Excuse me. It is the difference.
Okay.
And then also, a lot of times hospice is involved in respite stays, and hospice will provide the payment for that lots of times. So there are all kinds of different ways that they can get that respite care. It would just depend on whether or not they qualify for their insurance to cover different things along those lines.
Right. What are some of the qualifications? Because I'm sure that, anybody who's listening right now is like, okay, so Medicare covering the cost sounds a lot better to me than private pay, right?
Yes. Right.
Just to see if their loved one, any light bulbs go off of their loved one being able to qualify.
Yeah, just from a functionality standpoint, what are they able to do? Are they mobile? Are they a two-person assist? Can they transfer? Can they do a lot of these things on their own? Can they not? How much level of assistance will they need? So that's one way. Are they on oxygen? Do they have a wound? Are they, doing breathing treatments? There's so many different things that would get them qualified for their insurance to cover the cost. But that also does involve having their physician more involved as well.
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I think too, the industry itself, it's such our goal. We consider ourselves servants. We truly are there to serve those people. Someone that needs help, and they are coming to us to help their mom, their dad, their husband, their wife, their whoever. They're already in a vulnerable situation. So our goal is to not only serve their loved one very kindly and compassionately, but to help them navigate the system as well.
Yep.
It's definitely a service industry. I worked in restaurants for a long time, which is considered hospitality. Mm-hmm. And I say, you know what? I'm in hospitality. I'm just now in hospitality for people that are sick and need help.
Right. And need care. And it's so true too, in terms of, I'm sure that a majority of because people probably also discharging from hospitals and other acute settings, right, that are coming to you for rehab, that it's just such a whirlwind.
It is a whirlwind. Most people, think about it. Most people don't want to go. Look at what you see on TV.
Right.
Most people are afraid if you're in the hospital and you're by yourself and maybe your children are in another state and you're really trusting people you don't know.
Don't know you. Don't know them. They don't know you.
All the things.
All the things, right? To help you. And it's a lot of communication. The folks that work with us spend so much time on the phones with family members out of state, and even sometimes neighbors, or even with you all, to try to help that person safely transition from a hospital setting into our setting, or from home by themselves and they're homebound and they have no one that can help them into our setting. So, there are a lot of moving parts, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
But really the goal is to put everyone at ease, to make it safe, to make it fast, and make sure we have everything we need to care for that person, and then welcome them like we've been expecting them for a long time, right?
Yeah. And so important, just all the communication with the family, with your guest, because it is so scary. And when you spend that extra time, and it can really ease a lot of the fears.
Yeah, for sure. And if nothing else, like even with what you're saying, it's that you have a team. I think that so many caregivers or folks that even by themselves are navigating their own health changes alone, or a caregiver helping their loved one with that, you feel like you're on that island and you're having to make so many decisions, and ones that you probably feel 90% of the time that you are not qualified to do. Yeah. That you're like, I do not know the right answer, but this is what my gut says, which, truth be told, your gut is 99% of the time, right? But still, it's so overwhelming of just really having a sounding board of other professionals and people that go through this every single day, of having a team, whether it's case managers, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, so that it's not just you, the caregiver saying, well, I think, we should be able to do this at home, or I think that this makes sense. It's a professional saying no, or yes, this is how to do so safely.
Right. Yeah. Safe is key, right? I also think too, when you mention, there's all the people that are involved, right? Whether it's physicians or nurse practitioners, we function basically like a hospital. We can provide so many of the same services that the hospital does. We do have physicians that are in our locations every single day. We have nurse practitioners. We have dietitians, like we mentioned earlier. We can handle very highly complex folks that need help. Right. And there are people there 24/7 to do it. So it's not like, you go to the hospital and you have folks around the clock that are caring for you. It's the same when you come to one of our Palm Garden locations.
Yeah, that's great.
Stopping point here.
Yeah, sure.
So, we're going to have to go on a quick break, because without the help from our sponsors, we would not be able to have this show. So
yes,
here's our commercial break.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help, because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Sean W. Scott has been practicing elder law and qualifying clients for Medicaid for over 30 years. While his practice is in all areas of estate planning, such as durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogates, and wills, he also prides himself on having a 100% accuracy rate on getting clients approved for Medicaid. Why Medicaid, you may ask? Do you want to pay up to $16,000 a month for a nursing home should the time come? Obviously, no one wants to have to endure this cost. So even though you may have planned well for retirement, the reality is things happen. Planning ahead is never too soon. You need to make sure your income and assets are protected so that you can take care of you and your loved ones. Florida law is very specific on how and what is protected and how to protect it. Give Sean a call. He can help. 727-539-0181. That's 727-539-0181.
My mom was getting older, but she was able to live pretty independently until recently. When her case manager told me she would be discharged from rehab in just a few days, I didn't know what to do. But I knew for sure that she couldn't go back living alone at home. So that's when I contacted Sunways Senior Living Concierge. My senior living concierge, Lisa, was there for me through the whole process and was a free service for us to compare in-home care options and how that cost would compare to assisted living. With Lisa's help, we found a great new home for Mom, and she is thriving. Take it from me, don't go through this journey alone.
Hi, I'm Elli Baldwin, co-founder and president of Sunways Senior Living Concierge. We're a free placement and concierge service for families to help compare senior living communities and find the best place for you or a loved one. Call us today at 727-314-6451 or find us online at sunwaysseniorliving.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Okay, and we're back. Maybe you recognize those voices from that last commercial with Sunways Senior Living Concierge. Again, I'm Elli Baldwin. I have Lisa Keith with me, also with Sunways Senior Living Concierge, and Lisa Kent. But yes, we are excited to finally have a commercial.
It's so exciting.
It's like we're famous.
You guys have great radio voices.
Do we?
You
Okay. I think my dad always has the joke, you have a face for radio,
Face, yes.
right? Hopefully the voice for radio is better than a face for radio. Ed's looking at me like, oh, I've never heard that joke before. Okay. That's great. Well, we're glad to be back. We're talking about Palm Gardens, obviously, and talking about just rehabilitation and resources that the facility can give seniors in our area in Florida, but also really the support it can give caregivers as well. And something that we touched on a little bit, but maybe we can dive in a little bit deeper, is some of like the life enrichment. And, because one of the things I was thinking too, that to maybe even paint more of a picture for people of what goes on, almost like a day in the life in terms of some of the enrichment, maybe how much therapy they might be getting in terms of hours. I mean, I'm sure it kind of depends on the person, maybe.
It does, and the insurance again.
Right, there you go.
Right?
Oh, the good old insurance. Yeah.
But, life enrichment is so important because I think people feel that they will come into any of the locations, right? Any of the skilled nursing facilities. And what are they going to do? They're going to sit in their room all day, wait for therapy, and sit in their room all day.
Yeah.
So there's so many different activities. There's a lot more for residents, I will say, than for short-term folks, because short-term folks normally, they're there, they're doing their thing.
Right.
They have people come visit them all the time, and they're going to get out and go home, right?
Right.
But there are so many, we do have our chaplains that come in. They do prayer services. We have entertainment. We've had everything from small ponies to, all kinds of animals. We've done petting zoos outside that, any of our guests or residents could go out and participate in. Because most people, I don't know. I think the hardest thing for me, if I had to go, would be missing my pets, right? And I know so many people miss their pets. I will tell you, we do a lot of going the extra mile things for our folks. And we did have one of our guests at one time have open heart surgery, and she was EMS. And she wanted to leave early. She wanted to go home. And she still didn't have the use of like the right side of her body. She had all these things going on. And she knew she was going to struggle at home. And she was younger. She was like in her 60s. But she wanted to get home to see her dog. Her dog was a little dachshund named Fritz.
Oh.
And we actually had one of our liaisons go pick that dog up on a Saturday at her home and bring that dog to her so the dog could visit. She had a roommate, but her roommate was 80 some years old and the roommate didn't drive. So she did have someone to help take care of the dog. But if you could have seen the look of joy on her face.
What that did for her. That's amazing.
That was just amazing. So all of those little extra touches
And
are
I'm
the
sure-
best part.
And family members can bring pets in.
We are
correct?
pet friendly.
Okay.
Family members can certainly
Awesome.
bring in pets. We've had all kinds of visitors. We normally don't prefer that they stay the night,
Mhm.
Right.
but they can come and stay as long as the family member is there and go home. We don't have any quote unquote structured visiting hours, so their loved ones can come visit them day or night.
Right.
Oh, that's great
And I'm
to
sure
know.
that the rule on the pets being because, like you said, you function like a hospital, right? So, because the world that Lisa and I, as in Lisa Keith, the other Lisa, are in with mostly independent living, assisted living, and memory care, they are licensed differently, not a medical clinical setting. So it is typical that pets are allowed to live there, right? Dogs, cats, etc. I've had birds before.
Well, and that's
all
typically
those
because in those environments, those folks are more independent and they
Exactly.
can
And they're
care
able
for
to
their
care for
pet.
them.
Yeah.
And that's usually one of the deciding factors.
The
as long as you're able
qualifications.
to
Yeah,
care for your pet.
exactly. For sure.
I'm sure.
So you touched a couple times, and I'm glad that you brought it back up. This idea of like guest versus resident,
Mhm.
right? What is the difference, right? And like in terms of even day or how if somebody comes in as a guest and they decide that they need to be or want to be a resident. So if you could kind of clarify those two different things.
Sure. So to us, a guest would be the patient from the hospital, right? But we look at everyone as a whole human. I mean, I'm sure that you've done things in your lives already, right? That make you unique and different and special, right? So those things I think get a little bit forgotten as we age. So on the inside, we're still that person, right? But on the outside, we need help. So this person isn't just a patient to us. It's not just someone that had a COPD exacerbation and now they need all these different things and they need our help.
Right.
This person is Mrs. Smith, right? And Mrs. Smith, oh my gosh, she used to be an RN nurse and she used to, she had 3 kids. She still does. She has grandchildren. Like she went on in her life to do all of these incredible things. So to us, she's not just a patient. She's Mrs. Smith who did these
Right.
incredible things, right? So that's a guest. A resident is someone that lives with us.
Okay.
And we are fortunate enough to work in their home. That's the way we view it.
Okay.
They don't just live at Palm Garden. We are lucky we get to work in their home
Yeah.
and see them every day. So the activities and the things that go from being a guest or a resident are pretty much the same, although residents stay with us all the time. And then
Right.
our guests get to rehab and celebrate going home. Now, sometimes our residents do as well.
Mhm.
Sometimes they will, get stronger and they can go to a different level of care. Sometimes their family members come and say, okay, gosh, Mom, we found this place close to us in Michigan and we'd like you to come be with us closer in Michigan. So there's different ways that you can be a guest or a resident, or you can, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically improve your level of care
Right.
or your care needs. But most people that come to us as a guest for short term usually meet all of their goals and they're able to go home. Some
Right.
aren't. So we can also help them transition to that next level for them, right? Maybe some it's an ALF where they get, they basically have their own apartment, but they live in a community and they can go to a dining room. Someone else cooks for them. Maybe someone there helps them with a little bit of medication management, but they can still take care of themselves pretty good, right? Or maybe they were independent. They had this, medical
Incident.
tragedy incident, and now they can't anymore. And they come to us and we can do short-term things and get them a little bit stronger, but now they can't go home, right? Something's happened and they can't. So we can help them transition to that resident setting. Palm Garden is really good in the fact that we don't just, if someone can't do that and we don't have a spot, we tell them, oh, okay, you have X amount of days and you have to go find another spot. We can help people apply for Medicaid. We can help them get their finances in order. There's, as you know, I know both of you know, there's many different elder care attorneys in town that can help people too if maybe their financial situation isn't easy. But yes, they can definitely stay with us until they can transfer to that next level for them.
Yeah.
And what are some of the differentiators that you see? Because all have calls, and I'm sure you go through the same thing, Elli. And families might think that their loved one does qualify for nursing and needs to be in long-term nursing. But, in-depth conversation, it's like, there's actually communities out there that could provide the level of care that you need. So what are some of the
I always
the
say
deciding
I say the line
factors?
in the sand,
Yes.
right? Sometimes of just really like, what lane are we taking here? Because that is a great point. We get calls all of the time saying, the dreaded nursing home phrase that I know that I hate to hear, just because that term, the emotions that term and the visuals that term brings up, and it's not what it is nowadays.
And you know what? It's somewhat vilified. They're great places. There's no one out there that wakes up every day and decides they want to go to work and do a bad job, right?
Right.
Sometimes situations happen, but oh my gosh, it's an industry of people that care for other people, and for people that are down on their luck and they're aging, and sometimes they don't. It truly is. It's a servant and caring industry.
It's a calling.
It's a calling.
Sure.
And I can't stand to hear when people say that. But if they haven't ever been there, then they don't know. And once they get kind of into the system and they tour people and they get their questions answered, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
That's exactly what you were saying about the tour being so important.
But there's, if everybody can go on Google. Everybody does Google reviews now. I mean, there's different levels of folks that, we are, again, very regulated, right? So we have CMS, Medicare does star ratings for all of these locations. Most, it's anywhere from a 5 to a 1. So a lot of hospitals and a lot of, patients that are in the hospitals are looking at all this information. They're trying to gather everything. I say they should gather as much information as possible, but then always go look. Because maybe someone that has a 5-star and a 3-star really are the same. They just had a small, maybe a small medication issue, or, who knows, maybe, you never know. You have to go and you have to see for yourself. All of them offer different things. Some are more in tune with therapy. Some are more in tune with memory care. Some are able, every single one has a different kind of clinical need that they can help someone with. There's a few that have very specialty cardiac programs. Some that have,
stroke.
Some
and I think those are great points. And it's the same with assisted living. They're not all, it's not one size fits all.
No.
They all specialize in different things. They have different licensing. So that's a great point to keep in mind.
And to just make sure that, I think if anybody listening today is getting, the main thing to get out of it is reaching out to professionals that are in the industry for that insight, because there's so much miseducation out there, whether it's, an experience that your brother's girlfriend's hairdresser had, or whether it is the visual that, you have of assisted living or long-term skilled nursing because of your grandmother's visiting your grandmother in the 70s or the 80s, right? The industry has changed so much. Again, I know people listen from all over the place, but in our bubble of the Sun Coast, I mean, we're so lucky to have so many different options, almost to a point where it becomes a little bit overwhelming because there's so many options. If you're in a small town in Nebraska, it's like, okay, this is our one assisted living. This is our one skilled nursing facility. This is our one hospital. Not so much here, right?
But thankfully, there's people that can help families through that.
Yes.
And know the differences and know the options and can help narrow that down.
Well, I used to always tell folks, and I still do today, even if you don't choose Palm Garden, we're still a resource to you. We can still help you. Lots of people get to different places and they're not sure, oh gosh, I picked this one, but now I'm driving really far away and I'd rather be somewhere else. I mean, can you change if you wind up at one place, could you go to another? Sure, you can. Sometimes, again, insurance makes it a little tougher to navigate, but pretty much if you wanted to change, you can change midstream. I always say, the good thing about change is you can make a decision, but you can change it later, right? So there are so many different locations here in this area, so many different communities able to help different levels of care, that choosing one sometimes is very hard.
Yeah, it is, because there's so many different dynamics and factors that come into the process, as depending on if you've heard the show before or not, and kind of know from what Lisa Keith and I do with Sunways Senior Living Concierge. We're a free resource for families to compare resources and care options, right? So typically, when families will come to us, whether it, again, is somebody directly that needs care for themselves, them and their spouse, some things are changing, or a loved one that is a caregiver taking care of their loved one, we're able to really do that intake call to understand what is going on. And when I say what is going on, yes, there's that immediate care need, but we also have family dynamics, we have financial dynamics,
Sure.
we have location dynamics, we have
social situations,
all of these things, right?
And all of these communities have social workers. All
Right.
of them help people with their discharge planning. They're a resource within the community, right? They
Yeah.
work just like you guys. So many different people and resources. That's similar to like a social services director in any of these locations. They can help families navigate as well. I mean, when it comes to finances, oh my gosh, that's hard.
That
for
in
these
itself, well,
folks
like
to
you said, the elder care lawyers, the Medicaid. I mean, there's so many things that are these terms
Yeah.
that are just flown, and flung at caregivers many times, that, even the term Medicaid, right? Are we talking healthcare benefits? Are we talking long-term care Medicaid? Are we talking Medicaid in assisted living or skilled nursing, right? There's so
Right.
many different chapters and differences of that, right? That, the nice thing about, whether it's reaching out to somebody like Lisa and I at Sunways, or going to a Palm Gardens, and then you're surrounded by that team to then reassess,
Yeah.
And understand the best thing.
I think you brought up everyone that provides care is a great resource, because we go through this every single day, right? We help people navigate. So the best thing I would recommend for the folks that are listening today, especially if you're a caregiver needing help or you have questions, reach out to the people in your community. Even if it's a place, just pick up the phone and call and say, you know what? My husband's in the hospital and I think I'm going to need help afterwards. Those folks will be able to start the process by asking you questions that will then lead you to other questions, but it'll get you answers to where you need to be, because in the beginning it's completely overwhelming, but let the folks that do it every day help you navigate that.
Right.
And you don't know what you don't know.
That's exactly
So-
true.
Definitely reach out for help.
And speaking of reaching out for help, we actually have one of these amazing viewers on Facebook Live, Linda Burhans. Maybe you guys have heard of her. She has a comment that we need to make sure that we tell people where to find us, right? Palm Gardens. So because of the locations, et cetera, what is the easiest way for somebody to figure out where are the locations? How can they help?
Fantastic. So we have every single one of our locations has a website. And
Okay.
if you're in a market, say you're in Winter Haven, say you're in Clearwater or Largo, Orlando, Jacksonville, they all have individual websites, but you could also just go to the Palm Garden website. It'll tell you locations. You can take tours. You can ask questions. You could submit forms to get those questions answered. So
Perfect.
online. And if not, you can just pick up the phone and call your local Palm
Google.
Garden and they'll help you.
Yep, there we go. Well, I think we're getting the wave down from Ed that I think we're going back to a commercial break, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll see you soon.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing a Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It was nice to hear Linda's voice. I feel like she is with us in the studio.
Yes.
There it is. Exactly. She's on Facebook Live. We hear her in the commercial. She's all around.
Hopefully she's having a delicious day.
Oh,
yes, exactly.
I'm sure she is.
100%. So, something I heard you mention, actually, I think right before the show, was something about this member for life, right? I think maybe when you, something about if somebody were to discharge home, because I think that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah. So we actually have a program. It's Member for Life. It's not really a program. We embrace it. It's our culture. So if you come to us and you discharge home, you get a little card. It says Member for Life. I keep mine in my briefcase, except my briefcase is out there. Otherwise, I'll show it to you after. But basically it says, the year they came or whatever. It's got an 888 number on the back that you could reach out to us anytime. We've actually had past guests take that into the hospital and go, oh, no, I'm not going anywhere else. I'm a Member for Life. And it helps them get back in contact with us. So truly, we embrace, you came to us, we helped you. You know what? You're part of our Palm Garden family, and we want to be able, no matter where you are, to help you again if you need it.
That's awesome. And so important too, because as we all see, a lot of times there is a certain level of, folks coming home, something else happening, and then all of a sudden, it goes off the rails. And discharge planners maybe at the hospital are just, people are flinging in all different directions. And so making sure that you're back where you need to be.
Yeah. And you know what? The discharge planners, care coordination, case management, they do such a great job, truly, because they're navigating, an entire floor sometimes. They're sending people home. They're getting everything ready for them to go home. Maybe they need, home health. Maybe they need, so they're looking, maybe they need a higher level, of care. Maybe they need to go to an LTAC. So they're looking at this patient that they have soon to be our guest and kind of what level they need. They juggle a lot. They really work hard to provide such a strong support system to them as they're discharging the hospital. They really do.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And I'm sure that the patients find comfort in that, continuity of care, going back to something that's familiar.
That is familiar, because it's so scary. Like you said, I mean, especially if it is a intense medical change, right? That you're going from home, you're going to the hospital, you're going to it's just like, oh my gosh, you have no idea what the next door is going to bring, right?
I remember meeting with a young lady at Bayfront once, and she came to us for help. And she was fortunate enough to rehab and get stronger and go home. And then her daughter needed help. And she called and said, my daughter's in the hospital and there's no other place. I have this card. I still have your name. Can you help my daughter? Of course we can help her daughter. So even along those lines, if they help neighbors with that Member for Life card, they help friends. It just, it keeps on. The gift of helping keeps on giving.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that we kind of touched on briefly, just to I don't know, maybe expand on a little bit, because I think Lisa, you had asked about some of the qualifications for long-term care, because for Lisa and I at Sunways, we do get calls a lot from families and from caregivers saying, okay, care is needed. A change has happened, but they don't know what care per se is needed, and not just what care day to day is needed, but really what care level their loved one is coming in at. And the wheelhouse that Lisa and I really live in is senior living communities, right? So understanding, is somebody just not able to be at home anymore, not want to be at home anymore, and independent living still would work, right? It's just really about the socialization, the amenities, but care isn't the reason for the change. That's independent living. The next level up being assisted living. Different licensing are available for what they can provide, but the nice thing about assisted living, in terms of how I explain it, is that it really is able to walk that very thin line of access to 24/7 care, but really focus on trying to give independence and also quality of life there. A lot of outdoor space, a lot of little trips, activities, usually a private apartment that you're decorating to feel like home, but access to care. And then the next level up from that, if there's cognitive needs that have arose, then memory care that might look like assisted living with a private apartment, access to care 24/7, but really having caregivers that are trained in dementia and cognitive decline, so that cues, redirection, good days, good hours, bad hours are something that is typical in that. But then as we're moving up, that highest level of care and that nursing care is really where that resident, it sounds like, Lisa, that you were talking about, right? Yeah. That skilled nursing, long-term care. So they're getting every single day, 24/7 nursing care, not just with caregivers, but access to nursing care, right?
Yeah. And they're still able to decorate their rooms, right? That's their room. Yeah. So they have many different things that are near and dear to their heart in their room.
Yeah.
But they also have access to someone that can help them get up if they need help getting up. They can help them eat their dinner if they need help with dinner, monitor and manage all of their medication, but yet still put them in our van and take them on a field trip. So
yeah, no, that's perfect. And, obviously we covered a lot of great information today. I'm sure that it probably even opened more questions to be answered. We shared some information before the commercial break about going to Palm Gardens website to be able to really understand what closest location you have. Maybe Lisa, if you want to share.
And also, if you want to check out our website, it's sunways@seniorliving.com. And thank you, Lisa, so much for being here with us today. And thank you, Ed. Everybody have a delicious day.
Yes.